Okay. So let me tell you a story. This is a story of Terry Siako Saito. Terry Siako Saito, born, I should know her birthday, I think it's February 3rd, 1955. So, when she is 17 years old, she meets a Japanese man that's a gardener. He's 25 years old. Terry Chiako Saito, 17, she's 5'10", pure white skin. She's the oldest sister of 3 younger brothers. And this is after World War II and the Vietnam War, Korean War, so a lot of prejudice. And so she meets a gardener that's 25 years old from Japan. And falls in love, 17 years old, 18 years old, prom, right out of high school, gets married. At 17. So, she grew up quick. 18, she's getting married. 19, she has me. That is who my mother is. So she's the girl that's in my daughter's book, which is Ken Hayashi and the Magic Academy. Book 1, The Boy and the Witch. So she's the witch. So that's the part that you don't hear in the book, but that's the backstory. And then this is that girl raising me, right? So I don't want to spoil it, but you should read about the witch in my daughter's book. It's interesting because Ashley never met her because she had passed away a long time ago. Before I met Summertai, their mother, my children's mother, and before I met, of course, so she never met my daughter. She never met Summertai, who I ended up marrying. She never met them, and she passed away a week before I met Summertai. So she never met her. But that's the story. So if you haven't read the story of my mom, if you don't read the whole book, that's if you don't read the whole book, it's a commitment. You gotta read the whole book. But at least the story about my mom, in Ashley's book, my mom shows up because she's the one was trained me on how to become a wizard. So, there's lessons that she's doing throughout the book, but the 3 chapters are, if I can remember, I think it's Morning of Mischief. Check out that chapter. I don't know what chapter that is. Morning of Mischief. What else? Oh, The Witch. You got to read that part. The Witch, in her book, Ashley's book, and You Are a Samurai. So those are the lessons that my mom was giving me when I was a child. So yeah, that's kind of interesting. That's the girl at 17 years old meets my father. He's 25, from Japan. I don't know how much English she was able to speak. She didn't speak Japanese. She spoke English, but she could speak some Japanese. My father only speaks Japanese. He had to learn how to speak English. So, yeah, in fact, read the first chapter too, because that's how they started. So my father doesn't speak English. He still speaks Japanese. My mom doesn't speak Japanese. She only speaks English. So they have to learn how to communicate, and she could say a couple of words, but she wasn't fluent in Japanese. And he's in Japan, so he doesn't speak English yet. So he has to learn how to speak English really fast. So that's how my mom and dad met. And then my mom and dad got, my dad, they both got featured all over, Ripley's Believe It or Not. They were being considered for That's Incredible, but they were all on the news channels and at every station, because they had these robots that were serving food at their restaurant, and they're documented in the Smithsonian. That's like crazy that my mom and dad did that. They're freaking wizards. They're listed in the Smithsonian. My dad's name. My mom's name's not in the article, but there were a bunch of news reporting about what they were doing. That's what my mom and dad were doing. That's the subject of my daughter's book. That's the subject of my daughter's book, which is The Boy and the Witch. So that's The Witch. Yeah, and the rest of the book is it's a book on what I ended up how I end up becoming the samurai wizard, right? How I end up eventually defeating David Copperfield when I was 17, or at least challenged him to a wizard's duel publicly. The Emmy Awards covered it, news covered it, stuff like that. So that's what I was doing. And I challenged David Copperfield. So that's what that book is about. But I didn't realize that, it's kind of interesting that that my mom, who's just the backstory behind it is she's a 17-year-old girl. Now, I'm also saying this because currently I have a 16-year-old girl and 2 19-year-old girls, twin girls. Yeah. So I have 2 19-year-old twin girls that are karate champions, and they're dance champions, and one's an author, wrote this book. But at the same time, I was thinking that my mom, at this age, at 17 already meets my father and moves out of the house, gets married and moves out of the house and starts a life with him and has me by the time she's 1920, I think. I was born in 1974. She was born in 1955, so she was 19 years old. Yeah. She's 5'10". She was on the cheerleading team, too. That's kind of interesting. I didn't think about that. She was on the cheerleading team. Porcelain white skin, slanted eyes, but 5'10". She's taller than me. I'm 5'9". Yeah. So that's the subject of my daughter's book. She's the witch. Yeah, and so the lessons that she talks about, it's throughout the whole book. If you haven't read the book, read the book. But if anything, if you want to find out just what my mom, who she was, those are the chapters you gotta see. You gotta see the first chapter, first one. Parents who were wizards, parents who were magicians. I think that's what it is called. And then the second chapter, Mori Mischief. And then The Witch, that's about my mom. And then You Are a Samurai. I think it skips like chapter, I don't know what chapter it is. But then in between, it's a story about me as a kid, going through as a little boy. But my mom keeps showing up. But those are like chapters where it really talks about who the witch was. That's Tsuyako Terry Saito, and then she marries my dad, so her name eventually becomes Saito's is a samurai name, by the way. So we're samurai family. We're actually a samurai family. Saito's a samurai name, so we're a samurai family. So she takes on my father's name, which means just woods, 2 trees, woods. And my father, if you find out in the book, my father's father, my grandfather, was mayor of that city. So he owns a lot of rice fields. So that's my father. That's a whole nother story. We won't get into that today. But my mom, dad was a machine gun sergeant for the United States Army during World War II. So badass grandfather. And my mom, freaking, if you find out in the book, she freaking like pulls a gun on somebody. I don't want to do a spoiler alert, but yeah, you'll find that out if you read that part of the book. That's my mom. Yeah. So anyways, I wanted to share that with you. Yeah, I wanted to share that with you. Yeah, so, I could talk about her all the time, but I don't. That was Tsuyako Terry Saito. But her brothers would call her Yako instead of Tsuyako. Yako actually means, Yako is, I don't want you, child. Yako. And her brothers would call her Yako, which means Ya Nanako is someone I don't like, no, child. I don't like this person's child. Yako. But her name is Tsuyako. So then she starts working in the corporate world. She becomes a Mitsubishi. You'll find out in a thing. She becomes a general manager for a Mitsubishi division. And she ends up having to have 60 employees working for her, a major corporation. So she's this strong businesswoman. she just uses her middle name, which is Terry. So Terry, which could be, you know, man or woman, Terry Hayashi. So that's how she was known as, Terry Hayashi. And then she had me, Ken Hayashi, and I was a samurai wizard. You know, I speaking at the Emmy Awards, introducing the host of the Emmy Awards, for example. That's like one of the things I did. One. You know, that alone would have been fine. Oh, my son is at the Emmy Awards. He's going to introduce the host of the Emmy Awards. He's going to be on the microphone and just like talk and introduce the host of the Emmy Awards. You know, that would have been a major accomplishment by itself, if that's what I did. I did a little bit more than that. I did other stuff too. That's a whole nother story. But yeah, that was me as a kid. But that's my mom. Yeah, that was my mom. Called The Boy and the Witch. That's my mom. You know, my mom is those chapters that talk about who she was. Which is really interesting. So read it. You know, I don't want to spoil it on this video, but read it. It's a pretty interesting story about who my mom was. Yeah. As I say, that was Grandma Terry. Yeah. So she had gosh, the story about her is crazy. She would throw parties at her house, with all the corporate people. They're all dressed really nice in business suits and dresses, cocktail dresses and stuff like that. And she had like the bar all ready to go, and had a bartender there, like serving alcohol and stuff like that. Like a total wonderful hostess. She'd throw parties like that with all of her business people. So she was a badass woman. What else did she do? She was, started off as an executive, no, she was just the assistant secretary to the executive vice president of Mitsubishi Corporation in LA, some division, and she was his assistant. Next thing you know, she's freaking running the show. They end up giving her a position where she manages 60 people as a general manager of a division. So that was her. Yeah. Terry Chiako. It's like Hayashi, but they didn't know her as Chiako anymore, so they knew her as Terry. Yeah, that was her. Extremely powerful woman. She would make all of her dresses, or cocktail dresses, that when she showed up to these events. Oh, here's a cool thing too. She was the spokeswoman to Mitsubishi when they presented that they were sponsoring the beauty pageant Miss California, because Mitsubishi gave away a car, and so my mom went on stage and like gave the flowers to whoever won Miss California, because she now gets a car from Mitsubishi. So she went up on stage too. She was wearing a beautiful gown. I think she even sold it herself. So she's up on stage with all the pageant girls going from Miss California to eventually go to Miss America. And you know, she my mom, 5'10", and then she puts heels on. She must be like 6'2". She's looking at the other girls. The other girls are like towering over her. My mom's 5'10", right? Goes to this thing and like present, and she was in a white dress. I remember that. And she had big old poofy, poof stuff on her shoulders. Black hair, comes up and like presents the award. So she did that too. That was Terry Hayashi. Did that for Miss California pageant. She was a presenter too. I never thought about that. Interesting. I never thought about that. She was one of the presenters, you know, when they gave out the awards for Miss California. I was a presenter at the Emmy Awards. I introduced the host of the show. You know, I never thought about that. That's really interesting. Think about that. I think about that. That's pretty interesting. Never thought about that. That's Terry Hayashi. Very interesting person. Subject of my daughter's book. And the interesting thing about the fact that my daughter, she wrote that book, right? And she never met my mom. And I read the book after it was published. I read little parts of it. You know, I told her, you know, just write it and then, you know, submit it and whatever. So I didn't read the book, assuming the book was done right. So I read the book 3 months after the book was published. I was hoping the book was read fine, so you know, I went and read it. And you know, I think the book reads fine. I'm not a very good judge of books because I don't read books. I don't read very much. I don't read like those type of story type of books. I read like business lectures and different types of books. So I was like, okay. So I read the book. I thought it was written really well. That's my daughter's book. So the interesting thing is also she got the essence of my mom like down pat, like perfect. Like that's who she was. That's who my mom was. So, and the funny thing is that Ashley never met her. But in the way she wrote how my mom acted, it was like she got it spot on. That's pretty crazy. And she never met her. My mom never met Summertide neither. She never met her because my mom passed away a week or so before I met Summertide. Yeah. So Summertide, Pintong. That was this girl I met. And my mom never met her because she passed away. She was dying of cancer. And then she passed away. And that's a whole nother story of, you know, how she passed away. But she died of cancer. So I'm like, you know, my mom died of cancer. And I had never had a girlfriend before. And then what happened was, I'm sorry, there's someone right there. So just through here. What happened was, my mom dies from cancer. And I never had a girlfriend, so she never knew that I had a girlfriend. I mean, I never had a girlfriend. And I meet Summertide, like a week or two after my mom dies. And then eventually I marry her, and I have 4 children. So my mom never met my ex-wife, my mother of my children. You know. She never met her, which is unfortunate. My dad's still alive, so My dad's, met Summer Tai, or well, knows Summer Tai, and met Summer Tai's mom. At least met, but my mom never met Summer Tai. So that's kind of, yeah, and then of course she never met Ashley, but Ashley writes um, writes this part in the book, right? And she gets her essence perfectly, which is like pretty bizarre, I thought. Anyways, I thought that was very, not bizarre, but it's very good that she was able to capture that to that degree. So it's definitely a talent, or she tapped into it. I told the story of how her grandmother was, and then she wrote it, which is amazing. She got the essence really well too, which was amazing. That's amazing. So yeah. Yeah, a very special woman was Terry Tiako Saito. As a mom, she was working all the time, so I didn't really get to know her as much as I could. We're both so busy that I didn't really get to know her that much. I knew she was working for those companies and stuff. I did, because she would take us out, me and my sister. But she was a busy woman. Just I'd see her just rushing and doing stuff all the time. So yeah. So obviously she affected my life. Because I see her, a driven woman, and she's a single mom of me and my kid and my sister. So I was doing my own magic stuff, and an art, going to Loxa, which is arts high school, and then doing the Emmy Awards and doing magic. So I was pretty, intense kid myself when I was 16, 17, 18 years old. So she had to deal with that too, which was pretty interesting. But she was a woman, a girl, 17 years old, meets my father and gets married. So it's like, that's that's an interesting girl. I can't imagine my daughters, like, I can't imagine my daughters getting married. Finding. It would be great if they could, but they're so tiny. They're so cute. They're not gonna grow anymore. My mom was just like 5'10", so anyways, yeah. So anyways, that's who she was. Yeah. Talk to you soon. Bye.